The Mars colony disaster should have killed everyone. The dark matter storm that swept across Olympus City's shields carried enough energy to atomize the settlement and its 3 million inhabitants. Dr. Maya Patel watched the readings with a mix of fascination and horror from her position at the Dark Matter Research Institute. The numbers made no sense. "This is impossible," she muttered, her eyes fixed on the quantum fluctuation patterns. "The shield generators failed 2 minutes ago. We should all be dead." Yet Olympus City stood, its inhabitants very much alive, protected by something that defied every known law of physics. The dark matter storm raged against an invisible barrier that shouldn't exist, couldn't exist, but undeniably did. Colonel James Washington strode into the control room, his dark features set in an expression of controlled urgency. "Dr. Patel, please tell me you have an explanation for what's happening out there." Maya shook her head, her hands dancing across the holographic controls. "The readings suggest it's as if the dark matter is being actively redirected. But that's not possible. We've never been able to influence dark matter directly, let alone on this scale." The colonel leaned over her shoulder, studying the complex patterns of energy flow. Could it be some kind of automated defense system we didn't know about? "No." Maya's voice was firm. "This is something else. Look at these patterns." She highlighted a series of wave functions that pulsed in perfect synchronization. They match human brainwave patterns. Specifically, they match the collective brainwave patterns of everyone in Olympus City. Washington's expression shifted from confusion to dawning realization. "Are you saying 3 million human minds, all facing the same existential threat, all unconsciously reaching out to the one thing we've never been able to control, dark matter?" Maya's voice trembled with excitement. "Colonel, I don't think this is the first time this has happened. I think this is just the first time we've been able to measure it." She pulled up historical data, instances where human colonies had survived against impossible odds. The Titan incident, the Europa collapse, even the early Mars landing crisis. In each case, when faced with certain death, humans survived in ways that defied probability. "Dr. Patel," Washington's voice was careful, measured, "are you suggesting that humanity has some kind of collective ability to manipulate dark matter?" "Not suggesting, Colonel. Proving." She gestured at the readings. "What we're seeing isn't some random phenomenon. It's 3 million human minds unconsciously reaching into the fundamental fabric of the universe and rewriting the rules." The implications were staggering. Dark matter, the mysterious substance that made up most of the universe's mass, had resisted every attempt at human manipulation or control. Yet here was evidence that human consciousness, when pushed to its limits, could somehow reach out and influence it directly. "The Galactic Assembly is going to lose their minds," Washington muttered. "We've barely had contact with them for a decade, and now we have to tell them that humans can manipulate the one thing their entire civilization hasn't mastered in 1,000,000 years of trying." Maya's response was interrupted by a new alert. The dark matter storm was intensifying, but something else was happening. The collective response of Olympus City's inhabitants wasn't just deflecting the storm anymore, it was reshaping it, weaving the dark matter into new patterns that her instruments could barely comprehend. "Colonel," she said softly, "I don't think we should worry about how the Assembly will react to what we can do." She pointed to the new readings, showing how the human-influenced dark matter was forming stable structures that should have been impossible. "I think we should worry about what happens when humanity starts doing this consciously." As if in response to her words, the dark matter storm suddenly dispersed, reformed into a shimmering barrier that wrapped around Olympus City like a second skin. 3 million humans had just rewritten the laws of physics without even realizing they were doing it. The age of humanity holding back was over. The question now was whether the galaxy was ready for what came next. Ambassador Kai Rodriguez stood before the Galactic Assembly's Grand Chamber, aware that the next few minutes would change humanity's place in the cosmos forever. The massive amphitheater housed representatives from over 300 spacefaring civilizations, their forms ranging from crystalline intelligences to plasma-based entities. Every single one of them was fixated on the holographic display showing the Mars incident. Distinguished members of the assembly, Kai began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. What you're witnessing is not an anomaly or a technological achievement. This is humanity's natural ability to interact with dark matter through collective consciousness. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of translated protests and disbelief. First Speaker Nexus, a towering being of pure energy contained within an ancient environmental suit, raised a tendril for silence. Ambassador Rodriguez, the first speaker's translated voice, carried harmonics of deep concern. You expect us to believe that your species naturally possesses an ability that the combined civilizations of the galaxy have failed to achieve in millions of years. With respect, first speaker, we don't expect you to believe anything. We're simply sharing what we've discovered about ourselves. Kai gestured, and the display shifted to show historical data compiled by Dr. Patel's team. We've identified multiple instances throughout our history where human colonies faced extinction-level events and survived through what we now know was unconscious dark matter manipulation. High Counselor Zix of the Nexaran Empire rose from his crystalline throne, his faceted form refracting light in patterns that conveyed deep agitation. This is unprecedented. A species barely a century into space travel claiming mastery over dark matter. The implications are disturbing. Kai's expression remained diplomatic, but his voice carried an edge of steel. We're not claiming mastery, High Counselor. We're still learning to understand this ability. That's precisely why we've chosen to be transparent with the Assembly. Transparent. Zix's crystal form pulsed with skepticism. Or are you simply aware that we would have discovered this eventually, and you wish to control the narrative? The chamber grew tense as Kai stepped closer to the Nexaran representative. High Counselor, if humanity wished to hide this ability, we could have continued using it unconsciously as we have for millennia. Instead, we're here, offering to work with the Assembly to understand it, perhaps even to help other species unlock similar potential. The suggestion sent new waves of murmuring through the chamber. The idea that other species might possess dormant abilities to manipulate dark matter was either the most hopeful or most threatening possibility imaginable, depending on one's perspective. First Speaker Nexus's energy form flickered thoughtfully. Ambassador, while we appreciate humanity's apparent openness, you must understand our concern. Your species now wields what amounts to the most fundamental force in the universe. The potential for catastrophic misuse is precisely why we're here. Kai interrupted smoothly. We recognize the responsibility that comes with this ability. We're not interested in dominance or control. We want collaboration, understanding, and mutual growth. High Counselor Zix's crystalline form darkened. And if the Assembly deems this ability too dangerous, if we require restrictions or containment protocols. Kai's smile never wavered, but the temperature in the chamber seemed to drop. With respect, High Counselor, that's not a path you want to explore. Humanity's ability appears to grow stronger under threat. We don't want conflict, but history has shown that trying to contain us only leads to unprecedented developments. The warning wasn't lost on anyone. Humanity had just revealed they possessed an ability that made them potentially unconquerable, and their first action was to offer cooperation rather than dominance. There is another concern. First Speaker Nexus interjected. Our preliminary analysis suggests that human dark matter manipulation increases exponentially when multiple humans work in concert. What happens when your entire species learns to consciously coordinate this ability? That's exactly what we're here to discuss, Kai replied. We can either work together to understand and develop this capability responsibly, or he let the alternative hang unspoken in the air. As the Assembly began their deliberations, Kai received a priority message from Earth Command. The Nexaran Empire had just deployed their legendary Void Fleet to observe human space. The game was already beginning. and humanity's diplomatic overture was about to be tested sooner than anyone had anticipated. Admiral Elena Santos watched from the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Resilience as the Centauri colony's quantum communications went dark. The Nexaran strategy was becoming clear. They weren't launching a direct assault. They were trying to isolate humanity from itself. "Status report," she commanded, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the spreading darkness around Alpha Centauri. Dr. Amit Kumar, head of the Dark Matter Research Initiative, looked up from his console. "They're using some kind of resonance field to disrupt the dark matter harmonics around the colony. It's like they're creating dead zones in the quantum fabric itself. Can we break through?" "Not directly," Amit replied, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "The Nexarans have had millions of years to perfect their understanding of conventional physics. They're not blocking our abilities. They're making it impossible for dark matter to respond to human consciousness in those regions." Elena's jaw tightened. 5 million colonists on Centauri Prime, cut off from Earth's collective dark matter network. "They're testing us, seeing how we respond when they take away our new toys." "Admiral," Lieutenant Riza Nazari called from the sensor station, "we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the Nexaran fleet. They're creating some kind of pattern in the dark matter field around Centauri." Amit's eyes widened as he analyzed the data. "This isn't just isolation, it's experimentation. They're trying to understand how our ability works by studying how we respond to different types of quantum interference." Elena's expression hardened. The Nexarans had chosen their target well. Centauri Prime was humanity's first extrasolar colony, a symbol of their expansion into the galaxy. Now it was becoming a laboratory. "Get me Earth Command," she ordered. "They need to know." "Admiral." Riza's voice carried an edge of panic. "The quantum interference is spreading. They're not just blocking our dark matter manipulation, they're creating some kind of cascading effect through normal space. FTL travel will be impossible in or out of the Centauri system within the next hour." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The Nexarans weren't just isolating the colony, they were trapping it. "How many ships do we have in range to reach Centauri Prime before the interference becomes total?" 3 destroyers and a science vessel, Reza reported. "But even if they make it, they'll be trapped there too." "Send them anyway," Elena commanded. "The Centauri colonists need to know they're not alone." Amit suddenly straightened, his eyes fixed on new readings. "Admiral, something's happening. The dark matter patterns around Earth, they're changing." The holographic display showed a phenomenon they'd never seen before. Billions of human minds across Earth and its colonies were responding to the threat to Centauri Prime, not with the usual burst of collective dark matter manipulation, but with something new. "They're not trying to break through the Nexaran interference," Amit whispered in awe. They're changing the fundamental properties of dark matter itself. The collective human consciousness is rewriting the basic laws of how dark matter behaves." Elena watched as new patterns emerged in the quantum field, patterns that shouldn't have been possible. "Can the Nexarans counter this?" "I don't think they even understand what's happening," Amit replied. "They've spent millions of years mastering the laws of physics as they exist. We're literally changing those laws." On the main display, the Nexaran fleet around Centauri Prime suddenly shifted formation. Their sensors must have detected the unprecedented changes in the dark matter field. "They're powering up their primary weapons," Reza reported. "No," Elena said softly, watching the patterns of human consciousness spread across space. "They're scared. We're not just demonstrating our ability to manipulate dark matter anymore. We're showing them that reality itself is mutable in the face of human will." The quantum interference around Centauri Prime flickered as the collective consciousness of humanity continued to rewrite the rules of physics. The Nexarans had tried to contain humanity by using their advanced understanding of natural law. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their ability to manipulate dark matter. It was their capacity to change the very nature of reality when pushed too far. The silent war was about to become very loud indeed. The Nexaran world ship emerged from hyperspace like a crystalline star, its 100-kilometer length casting prismatic shadows across Earth's orbital defense platforms. Commander Yuki Tanaka stood in the lunar dark matter research facility, watching as humanity's greatest achievement became their potential doom. They're broadcasting, Lieutenant Maria Gonzalez announced, her hand steady on the communications array despite the tension in her voice. The message was simple: surrender your dark matter manipulation capability, or we will demonstrate why the Nexaran Empire has maintained galactic order for 10 million years. Dr. Amit Kumar's voice came through the quantum link from Centauri Prime, where he'd been trapped with the colonists. Commander, we're detecting unprecedented dark matter fluctuations around the world ship. Whatever they're planning, it's bigger than anything we've seen before. Yuki's expression remained calm, but her mind raced through possibilities. They still don't understand. They think this is about technology, about something they can take away or destroy. The world ship's crystal surfaces began to pulse with energy, creating ripples in the dark matter field that threatened to tear reality apart. The Nexarans weren't just trying to block human abilities now. They were attempting to fundamentally alter the quantum structure of local space. All stations, Yuki broadcast across the Human Defense Network, prepare for Protocol Omega. This isn't about fighting back anymore. It's about showing them what humanity really is. Across Earth, Luna, Mars, and every human settlement in the solar system, billions of minds began to synchronize, not in panic or desperation, but with a clarity of purpose that transcended normal consciousness. Commander, Maria's voice was filled with awe. The collective quantum field. It's doing something new. The displays showed something that should have been impossible. Human consciousness wasn't just manipulating dark matter anymore. It was merging with it. Billions of minds were reaching into the fundamental fabric of the universe and becoming one with it. The Nexaran world ship's attack faltered as their sensors detected the change. The crystalline beings had spent millions of years mastering the physical laws of the universe, but now they were witnessing those laws being rewritten by the collective will of humanity. "We are beyond your understanding," Yuki transmitted to the world ship, her voice carrying the weight of billions. "Dark matter isn't a tool for us to use or surrender. It's becoming part of what we are." The quantum displays exploded with activity as humanity's consciousness expanded beyond physical limitations. They weren't just changing local space anymore. They were transforming the very nature of reality across light years. Impossible. The Nexaran response came, their crystalline harmonics carrying traces of fear. No species can evolve this rapidly. No consciousness can merge with fundamental forces. Yuki smiled as she felt the connection to every human mind in the solar system, their collective consciousness reaching levels that transcended normal understanding. "You spent millions of years trying to master the universe through technology and physics. We just learned to become one with it." The world ship's weapons powered down as the Nexarans faced something beyond their vast experience, a species that could not only manipulate reality but was becoming one with its fundamental forces. "Perhaps," Yuki transmitted, "it's time to discuss a new kind of relationship between our peoples, not as masters and subjects, but as fellow explorers of what's possible." The dark matter field around Earth pulsed with potential as humanity held reality itself in a gentle but unbreakable grip. The Nexarans had come to contain a threat, only to discover they were witnessing the next step in cosmic evolution. Humanity hadn't just stopped holding back. They had transcended their own limitations in ways that would reshape the galaxy forever. The question now was whether the ancient civilizations could adapt to a universe where the laws of physics themselves were subject to the will of conscious beings. As the Nexaran world ship hung in space, its crystalline surface reflecting the light of a changed solar system, the truth became clear. The galaxy's greatest regret wouldn't be that humanity had stopped holding back, but that they had ever tried to make them do so. 1 year after humanity's transformation, the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Assembly had changed. Where once stood rows of separate environmental chambers for different species, now there was a unified space where physical forms mattered less than the quantum consciousness that connected all present. High Ambassador Yuki Tanaka, now humanity's representative to the galaxy, stood at the center of the chamber. The dark matter field around her rippled with the collective thoughts of Earth's billions, a constant reminder of how far her species had come. The age of separation is ending, she addressed the assembled representatives. Her words carried both through traditional means and through the quantum consciousness that humanity had learned to share. We stand at a crossroads that will determine the future of all conscious life in our galaxy. First Speaker Nexus, their energy form now freely mingling with the dark matter field, moved forward. In one standard galactic year, humanity has not only mastered dark matter manipulation, but has shown other species how to awaken their own dormant abilities. The question before us is, are we ready for such rapid evolution? The Nexaran delegation, led by Grand Archon Zix, had undergone perhaps the most dramatic change. Their crystalline forms now pulsed with internal quantum fields, their million-year-old civilization learning to embrace change rather than resist it. We spent eons mastering the physical laws of the universe. Zix's harmonic voice resonated through the chamber. Humanity taught us that consciousness itself could transcend those laws. The galaxy we knew is gone forever. Yuki nodded, feeling the weight of countless civilizations' attention. Change was inevitable. The only choice was whether to embrace it or resist it. Those who joined us in exploring these new capabilities have already discovered abilities within themselves that they never imagined possible. The chamber's dark matter field shimmered with the combined consciousness of hundreds of species. Some, like the plasma-based Etheri, had discovered they could exist as pure energy states. Others, like the silicon-based lithoids, had learned to reshape matter at will. But not all change has been welcome. A voice echoed from the shadows. The Void Collective, one of the few civilizations that had refused to explore their quantum potential, made their presence known. Some of us believe the old ways should be preserved. The laws of physics existed for a reason. Yuki turned to address them directly. The laws of physics still exist. We haven't destroyed them. We've simply discovered that consciousness can transcend them. Every species now has the choice to explore these abilities or remain as they are. Force was the old way. Choice is the path forward. The dark matter field rippled as billions of minds across the galaxy responded to her words. The transformation humanity had undergone had sparked a renaissance of consciousness throughout known space. Species that had been stagnant for millions of years were discovering new aspects of themselves daily. There is no going back, Yuki continued. But going forward doesn't mean leaving everything behind. We're not erasing the past. We're building on it. The Nexaran's understanding of physical law, the Etheri's mastery of energy states, the lithoid's knowledge of matter. All of these are still vital. We're adding to them, not replacing them. Grand Archon Zix moved to stand beside her, their crystalline form refracting the quantum energies that filled the chamber. A year ago, we thought humanity's ability was a threat to galactic stability. Now we understand it was the key to the next stage of cosmic evolution. The chamber fell silent as Yuki raised her hand, the dark matter field coalescing around her. Above the assembly, a visualization of the galaxy appeared, showing the spreading waves of quantum consciousness linking worlds and species in ways never before possible. This is our future, she declared. Not a galaxy divided by physical limitations or ancient laws, but one united by consciousness itself. The choice isn't between the old way and the new. It's between limitation and possibility. As the assembly absorbed her words, the quantum field pulsed with the combined thoughts of trillions of beings across the galaxy. Humanity had stopped holding back, and in doing so, had shown the galaxy that its greatest regret would have been holding on to limitations that no longer served evolution's purpose. The age of separation was over. The age of unified consciousness had begun. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, Reality itself smiled at the children who had finally learned to see beyond its veil.